So let's go back to the beginning. July 16, 2008. The day that Kaylee's kidnapping is reported.
Hello? Hi. Can you tell me a little bit what's going on? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
What are you thinking and feeling on that call? There's no emotion.
There's nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird. I was so numb during so much of that.
Who has her? Do you have a name? Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
I did meet someone named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She was babysitter, was the nanny. All of that's true. Was not my nanny, was not my babysitter. That's the official entrance. So we'd have to go around the back.
So at the time we're pulling up here with the cops, you believe what about where Kaylee is?
She's okay. That's what I believed the entire time, not just with the cops, every day that I've sat in jail up until the day she was found. Every day.
Help us understand, why were you lying to the cops?
I lied to everyone because that was my whole life up to that point. Acting like everything's okay, but knowing nothing was okay. I've had years of therapy, and I'm trying to analyze my own behavior and explain my own behaviors. All of this is a reaction to trauma.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
Right off the bat here, we're seeing concern with appearance and making more of these hygienic adjustments. And right when the topic of question gets discovered by her, there's some maybe cleavage covering or breast covering there. And namely, we're seeing some repetition of words here when she says nothing, nothing, and then repeats the interviewer's word weird. And Dr. James Pennebaker and Dr. Matthew Newman are some of the most recent researchers to really publish some serious academic studies on deception based on linguistic elements. And one thing they found is that repeated words are less often seen in truth-telling people, and these deceptive statements are more likely to contain less unique words, where if a word's repeated, it's not unique anymore. So I'll post a link to some really fascinating research about this. You can read that down below if you want to dig into that actual research. But when the interviewer says, you believe what about where Kaylee is, the answer from her is, she is okay. So no location, no idea of where she is at all, which would be an important question to answer, because this, I think, in a normal human, is what a parent would think about consistently when a child is missing. It's so critical that this question, I believe, would be answered with surgical precision by anybody whose child was missing, because they know, because they could not stop thinking about location and where is my child the entire time. But it's just, she's okay. It doesn't matter where she is. She's fine. She's okay. I think we're seeing something potentially unusual here so far. Greg?
Yeah, this is a good one because this is the beginning of a pattern we're going to see over and over and over. She exhales in preparation for tough delivery. And that tough delivery is she knows that she's about to be called on the carpet for this lying. She moves her hair back, and I think that's a grooming gesture for her. One of the first things I ever learned about interrogations, when you're interrogating women, what looks like seduction can often be deception. So we get young interrogators who go in, talk to a young woman, and she'd flip her hair and tilt her head, and they would think that she's attracted. And I would say, yeah, she's lying to you. Just go back and look really closely at what she's saying. So I'm always cautious when people flip their hair. It can just be a habit, which it probably is in this case. It's part of her whole appearance and how she's set up. So we take it at that. She's over the top in agreement. Yeah, that is kind of weird. Well, come on. Everybody knows that you're saying that, but look at her blink rate when she says it's kind of weird. Watch what happens. Watch her go through the roof. And what we say is a person normally blinks her eyes 15, 18 times a minute. When you see it go through the roof like that, it's an indicator of stress. Does it mean they're lying? No, but it does mean that I'm going to pay really close attention to you when something changes. We're looking at change. She also does this. She blocks her mouth. Now, that can be, I don't want to hear what I'm saying. It also can be an opportunity to give myself time to think. My opinion, what we're seeing here is she's putting her hand to her mouth, thinking of what she should say. And then she gets back into this flat affect of feelings when she talks about, she's going into this whole story about her daughter. And then the pitch, tone, and cadence of a person's voice are often great indicators of where you need to drill in. She changes pitch, tone, and cadence as she names this person and gives all three names of the person. And when you hear that, you go, okay, this is probably how she does things when she's being pressured and when she is being driven in an interrogation. So we'd want to listen for that change, listen for that change in cadence so we know it's something she's rehearsed. Her illustrators come up at confession that I was lying. She's big. Her hands are punctuating what she's thinking. She said, I was lying. And then they disappear entirely when she says she thinks that this girl was safe. So we look for deviations in baseline and what's happening. When she says my whole life was a lie up to that point, her forehead rises for the first time and she lilts at the end of her voice. We call that a request for approval. She's waiting to see, do you believe what I just said? And then she goes into some therapist talk where she says, it's all about trauma. It's all about what happened to me. Everyone who listens to this channel all the time, you know that I'll say what makes the organism successful, the organism will continue to do. And after being in therapy for long periods of time and going, yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. And getting rewarded, a person's going to have a whole new story. And that's, I think, what we're hearing here. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so movement of hair, whether it's males or females, can mean, I want to tidy myself. It can be self-soothing. It can be deception. It can be an adapter showing deception. Often it's used as well before an attack, before a piece of aggression to kind of, just distract you somewhat. I don't think it's that in this case. I think what it is truly trying to make herself look as good as possible. But that moment has gone. We're seeing too many images already in this montage sequence of her being concerned about the way she looks before she speaks. I was happy with it happening around the clapperboard. I'm not happy with it happening outside of that. And it's going to continue. So that's a bit of a problem, that concern around appearance, around subject matter that she shouldn't need to be concerned about her appearance. So it goes to this shot of her and she's around a projector and the way she's talking is overly dramatized. At that point, seems highly kind of scripted. So I'm worried about that. A big change in her tempo, a big change in the emphasis that she's using. Now, again, could be the fault of the filmmaker and how the questions are being asked. And this definitely is a piece of film here because look, what we get is her getting into a car in empty streets. Seen from above, an image of loneliness. She's on her own. We see her driving. The camera picks up on the bracelets, the cloth bracelets on her arm. These are usually signifiers of memories of past events. So she's lonely now. She remembers the past somewhat through objects that she has. The interviewer, we see her interviewing her through a mirror. It's literally Alice through the looking glass. It's red pill, blue pill. We're seeing everything through a glass darkly. We're seeing everything distorted in some way. It's montage. It's surrealism that's being set up here. And so justifiably, from my point of view, we've got a highly produced piece of documentary that at the end of it, as she's talking about therapy and trauma, leaves us, I think, as the audience, slightly confused. And it's designed to do that. So we've got to be careful as we go through analyzing her, that we also analyze how she's being projected to us, how the filmmaker is trying to manipulate us because the filmmaker is doing a manipulation. And I think it's fair to find out early that she's going to be doing a manipulation as well. And these things are compounded. So if you feel a little bit seduced by this film at this point, maybe even feel a little bit sorry for her because you're a little bit confused and there's a big mystery going on. Well, you're right to feel like that because it's designed to do that. Scott, what do you got on this one?
And that's Mark Bowden's film school, ladies and gentlemen. I never thought about some of that stuff, but I think you're right. I think you nailed a lot of that because you did get those feelings from that. I don't see
old school.
Yep.
Like
with music too.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, yeah. The music is all that. Anyway, so I think you guys are correct on the grooming, the preparation. Again, she just wants to look good. She's doing that constantly. She can't leave her hair alone. She's all the time trying to look. And again, like you were saying, Mark, I'm just having to cover what you guys covered in little spots. It could be an adapter. She could be, that just be a nervous habit she's got to help get rid of some of that built up stress and tension. The thing I found interesting at the beginning was every time she answered, she would look away as she was answering. She'd say something, then she'd look away. When they're talking about the woman who's the nanny, and she says she's been missing for 31 days, and then we never hear anything else about that. The filmmaker should have said, hold on a minute, man, what do you mean? And this is all we get? Yeah, you lied about that, but what did you say? What were you telling the cops? That's what should have been happening here. And that's when I went, you know what? This whole thing's going to be one-sided. It's all going to be on Casey Anthony's side. And that's what we see from here on out. The music comes up and it makes it sound like it's like you were saying, Mark, all lonely and bless her heart. You know, God, this poor old girl just, had the worst time. So this is really one-sided. And I think, Greg, when she's covering her mouth, I agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, as you know, when somebody touches their mouth, it sends a signal to the brain to relax. So I think she's thinking of what she's going to say, and she's trying to buy some time, and she's trying to relax at the same time. So I believe that's an adapter. I would look at that as well. Yep. As we know, adapters are the things that we do a lot. Quite often, they're repetitive motions or behaviors that help pacify our feelings and help pacify ourselves. That's a Joe Navarro thing, a classic. And so we do that to help calm ourselves down, or to remain calm as things go along. We see a lot of this blank expression and a lot of this fake and false concern, and the reason I'm saying that is because it goes back to the other video where we're seeing these emotions that really don't pay off. They do. If you don't know what you're looking at, you'll go, oh yeah, I see she's sad or she's angry. But from our perspectives, we see that and go, this is painful almost. It's so bad. Not as bad as Amber Heard, but this is almost like a pro version of Amber Heard. She's a better actor than Amber Heard is. Her illustrators, a lot of them, we see plentifully illustrators, and she's hitting where they should hit. They're hitting right on the money, so that's normal. Quite often we'll see if illustrators don't hit where they're on the words like this. Yeah, I'm telling you, I did that. Instead of I'm telling you, I did that. If they're not hitting with the words, then we may see that as being deceptive, or they're not locked in with what they're saying, or it could be rehearsed. And they're trying to remember as they're talking that it could be whatever's being rehearsed. And again, the emotions she's supposed to be going through are not exhibited, are not displayed on her face in the proper manner. From anger to I don't think we're seeing much anger here. It's mostly frustration, I think, and this fake concern up to this point. That's what's bothered me there. All right, now, if you don't know who we are, we're the Behavior Panel. And I'm Scott Rouse. I'm a body language expert and analyst, and I train law enforcement in the military in interrogation and body language. And I created the #1 online course, bodylanguagetactics.com, with Greg Hartley. Mark?
I'm Mark Bowden. I'm an expert in human behavior and body language, help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate, including some of the leaders of the G7. Chase.
Hey, Chase Hughes did 20 years in the U.S. military, wrote the #1 best-selling book on behavior profiling, influence, and persuasion. And you can just type Chase Hughes into your app store today to level up your behavioral skills. Greg?
Greg Hartley. I'm a former Army interrogator, interrogation instructor, resistance to interrogation instructor. Written 10 books on body language and behavior. Put together the #1 bodylanguagetactics.com course with Scott. And I spend most of my time in corporate America.
Excellent. Here we go.
And by the way, had the #1 new Kindle book yesterday in business negotiation. Cool. Yeah, I was happy.
Oh, Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it'd been there way up before, but for some reason in Kindle, it just jumped.
Which one is it?
My business book.
What's it called?
Most dangerous.
That business book you'll ever read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Greg, I'm really sorry that Scott doesn't read your books.
I'm trying to get him to plug it on here because you just say my business book, my business book.
Yeah, I'll do it if you want. But yeah,
we just did.
It doesn't really need to. Yeah. Went well. Yeah, I was happy.
You're wiggling too much, Scott.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. July 16, 2008. The day that Kaylee's kidnapping is reported.
Hello? Hi. Can you tell me a little bit what's going on? My daughter's been missing for the last 31 days.
What are you thinking and feeling on that call? There's no emotion.
There's nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird. I was so numb during so much of that.
Who has her? Do you have a name? Her name is Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She's been my nanny for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
I did meet someone named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez. She was babysitter, was the nanny. All of that's true. Was not my nanny, was not my babysitter. That's the official entrance. So we'd have to go around the back.
So at the time we're pulling up here with the cops, you believe what about where Kaylee is?
She's okay. That's what I believed the entire time, not just with the cops, every day that I've sat in jail up until the day she was found. Every day.
Help us understand, why were you lying to the cops?
I lied to everyone because that was my whole life up to that point. Acting like everything's okay, but knowing nothing was okay. I've had years of therapy and I'm trying to analyze my own behavior and explain my own behaviors. All of this is a reaction to trauma.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.